Linguistics is composed of several discrete concepts working together to create what we know as language. This process can be compared to the elements that make up a horror film. There are 6 elements of linguistics: phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, discourse, and style. The horror genre is one which spends much time creating a scary atmosphere. Characters often find themselves in strange or unknown locations, pursued by violent killers, or other situations that serve to craft an imposing, ominous atmosphere for its characters. This is comparable to phonology, the study of sound systems and sound change. Sound itself goes a long way towards creating the atmosphere of speech. In the same way that creaking floorboards and relentless footsteps can invoke suspense, one can convey urgency in communication by merely issuing wordless sounds. A horror film is nothing without its characters. The personality that each character represents and the way they interact with each other can be compared to morphology. Morphology is the study of word forms and the processes by which words are formed. Suffixes and prefixes cannot serve as words by themselves and come together with basic words to build a higher sense of meaning and definition. Similarly, horror characters work together towards their mutual ends, which is usually to not get chopped off by a psychopath. So now we have an atmosphere, and we have a bunch of characters. But what will propel these two things further? The plot. The plot of the film is the thread that ties all these disjointed artifacts of the film together into a coherent story. This is just like syntax. Syntax is the context that phonology and morphology exist in. It gives the meaningless sounds and the individual words coherence and meaning with things like clauses, phrases, and sentences. Then there's the main reason that most people go to the movie theaters to check out the latest Friday the 13th sequel: the element of fear. No matter what horror film you watch, all of them are, on some level, trying to convey to you the concept of fear. This emotion is created by the atmosphere, the protagonist and villains, and the plot, all of which work together to scare you. In a big way, horror is the thing that defines the horror genre, so this is a close parallel to the aspect of semantics. Semantics is the study of meaning and language. Just as fear helps to give meaning and impact to a horror film, semantics supplies syntax with a tangible meaning. Part of what gives those scary scenes such a big impact, though, are the exposition scenes. Exposition scenes are those quiet moments of reflection. They give you insight into the character and make you really care about them. They broaden the scope of that character and that situation, and expound further upon the concepts of the film. That's just like discourse, continuous speech or text that is longer than a sentence. Discourse takes the meaning that is created by semantics and often gives further perspective upon it. But there's one thing that has been overlooked this whole time. So far, we have only examined horror films as a whole. It would be shameful to neglect the fact that there are many, many subgenres of the horror genre. Because there is more than one atmosphere a horror film can have, such as whether it is serious or funny. There are many different ways to evoke fear, and so on and so forth. There are many different genres of horror. Someone who favors a classic slasher, for instance, might have distaste for zombies films. In speech, there are many different ways of speaking. This specific type of speech is called style. There is an entire spectrum of ways, genres, in which one can speak. So there you have it, using horror films as a metaphor. We can see how the different aspects of speech work together and build upon one another to create what we know as language.